Hello friends, welcome back to Earth Electric Road Trip Hacks. I'm Reed, and we've got an overcast but calm day here in Lake Isabella, California, and we're talking about maybe my favorite product that I have with me, the Roadpro Personal Roaster. This thing for 5 months has been pretty much my sole method of cooking food, and in this video, I'll tell you guys how I landed on it and why it's so great. When I was packing up my car in San Francisco for this journey around the country, I was thinking of ways to reduce complexity in my setup, and propane canisters were a pretty obvious thing to nick off the list. So while they're not that bulky space-wise, they add a lot of mental complexity. You have to, kind of estimate how much is left. You have to worry about refilling or replacing them fairly often. And it just kind of seemed ridiculous when I have this huge battery underneath my car to bring some gas around just to heat up food. And it turns out that, unfortunately, the summer of 2020 was a pretty good time to not be reliant on open flame for heating up your food. There were a lot of campfire restrictions and even open flame restrictions in a lot of the places that I ended up going. So it was great that I was used to the Roadpro in the end. I actually found this bad boy through trucker blogs. They have a lot of great tips for road tripping in general, and these can be found at truck stops or online. There are a few different models and different brands available from $30 to $50 about. The reason I landed on this one specifically was mainly because of the aesthetics. I liked the glass top that you could see inside to what you're making, and the other one, the main one, kind of honestly looks like one of those things that scoots around the Death Star in the old Star Wars movies. But specs-wise, they're all pretty much the same. They just have a simple on-off switch. There's no temperature control. So you plug it into your 12-volt, and as long as there's power going to it and the switch is on, they'll heat up to about 300 degrees if you have the lid on, which is definitely enough to slow roast things even from raw, if you think about it. So I put it to the test. So yes, what they say about it is true. It can cook things from raw, and actually it heats things really evenly and very nicely. And it does heat and reheat pre-cooked things surprisingly fast. But the main thing for me is it just works wonderfully with an electric car. I don't have to worry about the battery running out. I don't have to keep the engine idling just to heat my food up. I just have to check in every half hour or so to make sure the car is still on and that everything is working properly. But my meals are usually ready just a tiny bit longer than they would be in an oven at home. It's also a great size. It will easily heat a meal for 2 people. I'm always if I fill it up, I can never finish all the food that's in there. And the cord, at least on a Model 3, is just long enough to reach up to the top of the car or the frunk. So when I don't have a roof rack on, it's great to just stick it on top, but I can also pop open the frunk for a little extra elevation and put it right on the frunk. Either way works great. If I know there's a fire pit where I'm going and there's no fire restrictions at the time, I'll usually split up the cooking. So I'll do the meat over the open flame and I'll do the sides in the Roadpro kind of at the same time. Whenever I get to do this, I usually eat better than I would eat at home, but you don't always have the luxury of an open fire. So when there's no open fire, I usually just don't bother anymore with trying to cook things from raw. I'll get pre-made meals refrigerated from Trader Joe's or something. There's usually a decent variety. Throw them in the Roadpro. It's super fast and actually really convenient. And the cleanup afterwards can be totally minimal. Online, they sell these aluminum trays that are specially fit to the model of the Roadpro that you have. I've found that for my needs, tin foil just works great. It creates a little bit less waste, and it's easy to ball up really small in case you have to pack your trash out. But I've pretty much been able to completely avoid dish scrubbing, trying to get burnt stuff off of my dishes for the entire summer, which is incredible. Now, I have to warn you about some limitations with this thing, notably boiling water, which is easy with a jet boil, right? It's kind of the main thing you do. Boiling water with the Roadpro sucks. I tried it at the beginning of the trip. It led to the most miserable nights of my entire life.
I've been here for 2 hours waiting for these potatoes to boil, but I think they're getting there. I don't know.
Just don't try and boil water. Pasta, rice, if it's not pre-made, that stuff is kind of off the table if you're relying on the Roadpro, but there's plenty of other stuff out there, as I've found, that's cheap and easy to make. Also, just recently, after about 5 months of heavily using my 12-volt outlet, It burnt out for some reason while I was in LA, so the service center down there was able to replace it, but it was a $300 replacement. So I'm not sure if it was the Roadpro. I don't think it was. This just happened when I plugged in the air pump for my air mattress in the back. So I'm just going to try not using that, and we'll see if I can still keep the 12 volt going. But other than boiling water and being mindful of how much you use your 12 volt outlet in general, this thing has just been a blessing. I love it. I never thought I'd love like a $40 kind of like cheap piece of electronics as much as this, but I do. So in conclusion, for the price, any type of these Roadpro items you can get are going to be awesome. Even if you're mostly reliant on a gas grill, which is totally understandable, right? I'm not out here trying to save the world by not using gas. I just thought it was, a practical thing to do. So even as a backup to a gas system, it's a great thing to have. So I definitely recommend getting one, especially if you have an electric car. All right, that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you coming by. If this review helped you, please check out the description below where I've got a link to where you can buy the Roadpro, as well as ways to support the channel. So happy adventuring, and we'll see you next time here on Earth. Boo!